Diddle-dum-dum. So this is La Pièce de Resistance, Shane. Right, so I'm going to read this out and you're not allowed to smile. The title of this topic. Go on. So the title of today is How Shane is to Peak for 200 Log, the Roadmap. Tell us. Talk us through it. What are you doing? How are you going to get to 200 log, mate? Come on. Get in the mindset. You're going to the gym after this. I want you absolutely bouncing.
I've got this right here. I've got this methyl tren in my hand, ready for my pre-workout because I've got a vision. How I'm getting to 200 log? Well, to be honest, mate, I've been peaking it since December. Well, not peaking it. I've been on this road since December and I've got already to 182. And it was a pretty decent rep. I felt like I had 185 in me, maybe. So realistically, mate, I'll be straight with you. The next 3 weeks, the reason why I'm going to do it is drugs. That's it. There's no magic training structure. There's nothing. I have been very consistent with my training on an extremely low amount of drugs. And now I'm not going to take a low amount of drugs. I'm taking, like the other day, mate, 0.5 mil of trend, boom, straight into the soul, A-bomb, boom, down the throat, fucking looking at myself like an absolute savage cunt. And that's what's going to make the difference because I'm in the shower, I'm in my bed, eat, sleep, breathe, visualize, log press. I woke up this morning, Shannon will attest to this, I woke up this morning with neutral grip position, just fucking sleeping there, ready to go. And then I'm in the shower, and I'm fucking slinging that log 15, 20, 30 times in that shower every single morning. And I tell you what, there's been a common trend through my life, Josh Lancaster. There's been a common trend, which is when I start visualizing shit, it gets realized every single time. There's no problem. So that's the difference. Is it's just literally going to be a bit of focus, a bit of drive, a bit of madness, a bit of trembolone, a bit of anadrol. And that's the difference. That you can give yourself 5% in a couple of weeks if you do that kind of stuff, which is why I believe I'll do it because I only need 5%. If I get 5%, then I'm there.
So when are you going to do it? Have you got a date set in mind or not?
No, because what I tend to do in my logs is they're very weird. My logs. They can be all over the shop. Sometimes
it's going to turn up one day where you feel good.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a kind of rough plan as to numbers I'm going to hit that I know I'll hit on good days or bad days. And all that'll happen is at one point in time over the next 3 weeks, I'll press my set that I've got planned and be like, right, today is the day, and I'll go up. I don't like putting dates on stuff because. That's why it's so hard to do stuff in comps, mate, isn't it? Because it's got to all be perfect. And sometimes the perfect days just kind of pop up randomly and you can't really plan them. And that's all I'm going to be doing. That's why I've given myself 3 weeks because I know in the next 3 weeks I'll have a good day. The drugs kick in almost instantly. So I'm feeling fucking good if you can't tell already. And yeah, I'm just going to fucking take it when it won't be today, like, you know what I mean? It's going to be, I'm hoping it'll be sometime next week. But if it's not, it'll be the week after. If every time I train it feels shit, then maybe I'll have to extend it 4 weeks. But that's very unlikely because, you always have, you know what it's like. You always just have a session where you're like, one a week, you get a session where you're like, fuck me, I'm buzzing. So what I've done is I've pulled back all my other training so that I'm not going to come in the gym fucked from yoke or deads or anything like that. I'm going to pull everything back, just focus on log and bench because I peaked log and bench together because for me, they kind of go slightly hand in hand. Bench is going mad as well. So I'm hoping for a 240 bench and a 200 log.
So what markers have you used recently? So I've noticed that, say, from watching it, following your training or whatever, like you've been posting that it's like you've been on really low dose for a while, but been surprised with how your numbers basically the numbers you're hitting on the dose that you've been taking recently. Like what do you think's been the difference to get you to that that baseline? Why is the baseline so much higher now than
just knowledge and money is basically the thing, because when I used to do gear, for most of my life. I didn't have much money, so it was always get whatever I could get. Usually I'd just get the strongest gear, because if I could only afford 3 vials, I would get the test 400 and this and that and some other shit. And also blood test wise, I'd be able to get blood work done now and again, like maybe once a year, because a full blood panel's, 200 quid. So it's difficult to basically, it was difficult with the financial restrictions to completely master my hormones, if you want to call it that. Whereas this time round, since probably the last year or so, what I've been doing is taking certain esters, certain gears, different frequencies, like 3 times a week, every day, just experimenting, keeping on getting blood work done and seeing the changes. And yeah, for me, I found that I use a blend of esters and I do daily injections. And what that's doing is my body is processing that really efficiently, not aromatizing any of it really. My estrogen's pretty well in control, and I'm utilizing it properly, which means that my testosterone level on the tests is near enough the same as when I was on triple the dose, because what I was doing before was banging it all in with maybe 1 injection a week, sometimes 2. Most of it was aromatizing into estrogen, and then taking an anti-estrogen to drop that down, which meant that the actual testosterone wasn't that high, because most of it's aromatized and doing whatnot. So because I've been able to test and assess everything and find the perfect blend for me, it's meant that I've, basically, in terms of what my body's doing with it, it's doing the same as when I was on high dose, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've just learned to make sure that I'm getting everything I can out of it, which means basically if I ever wanted to do the crazy high dosages again, I would use this same protocol, and then I would actually use everything of that. And I don't know what would happen if I did that, because I've not done it. But back in the day when I would take 750 tests, I wasn't using 750 tests. I was just taking it and suffering the side effects of it, and taking other drugs to counteract the side effects. And
so what measure of test will you have, like in your blood? Will your blood test show roughly, or what would you be aiming for roughly?
What, me personally, or just like?
Well, you don't have to share that if it's personal, but like somebody who takes gear like that.
Yeah, well, my test level at the moment is in the I think it was like 120, which is about your average kind of. Is it 8 to 25 is the 8 to 25 is the kind of natural range. Not many people are anywhere near 25, but let's say you were, I'm like 5 times the top end natural range.
Wow.
Which is a lot, obviously. I then added in Primobolan, which again I haven't had too much experience with, because that's an expensive drug. And again, financial restrictions. If someone says it's 60 quid for your Primo, or it's 20 quid for your Mastron, you take the Mastron because you need to. Whereas this time around, I've been using low dose Primo. Really rate it. I think it's been doing its job at a low dose, it's a DHT derivative, which means it's more neurological in its changes. So it's not going to bloat you and make you massive overnight, but it helps with the neurological side. So if you're on a strength peak, it'll help you kind of peak your nervous system to a higher kind of rate than you would be able to do without it. So that's definitely helping. And then aside from that, that's literally all I've been doing up until Sunday, which Sunday I've started some Tren and some Anadrol, and I'm going to be taking those for the next 3 weeks only. Like I say, they work quick. So as long as I am based, what'll happen is when I'm recovered, feeling good and strong, my strength potential is going to be higher because of the stuff. And 1 second.
Because of the supplements he's on. I don't know where he's gone. I'll give him 10 seconds. Oh, yeah, because of the supplements you're on.
So, mate, somebody rang me, kicked me out. Yeah, my strength potential will be much higher now.
Yeah.
So it'll mean that on that day, I should hopefully be able to chip out that couple of percent. And this is what I wish I knew this 10 years ago, I really do. But it's so hard to get the correct information in this world on PEDs. It really is. And it's hard to find out what's right and what's wrong for the individual, because there isn't a set in stone answer, unfortunately, because everybody's just going to react to stuff slightly different. So unless you do the test and assess that I did, where you literally change something, wait a couple of weeks and see what happens with your blood work. Like, some people will take certain drugs and get like completely different changes in the blood work to other people. And then you've got to kind of figure out, like, well, if I want to be the healthiest person possible, if I want to extract the most performance out of my body, but make it so that when I stop, I'm normal, and I'm not going to go into later life with issues, then you need to do that. Because, for example, someone can take Anavar and it absolutely ruin the blood lipids, like the cholesterol and stuff. Even though it's quite a mild drug and it's known as a starter drug, for some people, it can absolutely wreck your cholesterol. Other people hardly do anything to them. So if you're one of the people that it's wrecking your cholesterol and you don't know, and you feel good on it, because you will, if that becomes your go-to drug that you're on and off all the time, in 6-7 years' time, you could have like plaque build-up in your arteries and stuff because of, the stuff you've done to your cholesterol over the years. And if you didn't test and assess it, you would never know, because you don't suddenly wake up one day and be like, I feel like I've got plaque build-up. You just don't have a clue.
Yeah. So what's the gold standard for having your bloods then, would you say?
What should you be looking for?
No. Like how frequently? Like assuming like, say for instance, someone like myself, right? Say I got into it and I don't want to learn. I don't want to spend time learning all the shit, and I was getting somebody to interpret the results. Like, how often would you say would be the money was no object? Would you say every month, every 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
Depends, because it depends on any changes. So if you say you started, Josh, and you just added in testosterone, maybe you'd wait a month or two until you kind of, maybe you just get your hormones checked for the first little while, not like a full panel, just your hormones. And you get your tests and your estrogen and everything. You get that way, where you felt good, you're recovering, you're getting stronger. And you're at a point where you're like, right, everything's class and I'm going to be improving 10 times faster than natural. Get that sorted. Then you get a full blood panel and see how your health markers are. Now, if everything's sweet and you don't change anything, you might not need one for a while. You might not need one for 6 months, 8 months, a year. But if you get them done and there's some issues, then you would be like, right, I need to find out how to sort these. Maybe you need to supplement something to bring some blood level back into range. So then you would add that supplement in, and then in a couple of weeks' time, you would retest again and see if it's fixed. Then if it's all fixed, then you're good to go. But then maybe later on before a competition, you want to add a drug in. So you add something in, that means something's changed. So then you would get another blood test done and see how did I react to that drug. So in terms of how often you get stuff done, it depends, because if you've constantly got issues that you need to keep checking and adjusting, then you might need more. But if you just stick to drugs like your base testosterone, primos, things like that, the milder ones, you shouldn't, you can still, but you shouldn't get that many issues. So you should be able to do them, fairly infrequently. It's when you start playing with your anadrols, your trends and all this stuff, and especially if you do that for a longer stretch. Like me now personally, I will mainly use drugs that like that for a really short time. That's why I give myself 3 weeks, because I'm like, I've climbed to the top of the mountain anyway. I've peaked to 182. I'm already at the mountain top. I'm just taking that last little bit for a few weeks to go to that final step. I've not used Tren from December till now to get where I am, if that makes sense. I've got most of the way without it. and now I'm going to use it for a really short period. So what that means is my exposure to the drugs that do the damage is limited to the smallest time frame possible, but I'm still using them because I want to, and I've made that decision.
Cool. Will you go for any records, or are you not bothered?
Yeah, if I...
Would you go for 105 record?
No, I'm doing 90 worlds. I'm still going to do 90 worlds. So I'm going to do this log record, and then I'm going to lose some weight is the next goal after that. Get myself back down to that 95 key. Right now, I've just literally been trying to, I don't care about anything but big log. So I've just been eating and getting big and fat and strong, and going to have me fun, do this log, and then sort my life out.
Sweet. Peace out, motherfucker.
Right.
Boom.